Okay, hi everybody, and welcome back to our Home Together series. I wanted to start a little bit early before our guest Kevin Love joins us, just to check in on people. And as Patrick said, you should go live before so people have a chance to join, so that when Kevin comes, because he's a big deal, you actually have some people who've joined in and want to listen to him. And so I wanted to just say hello. I'm so grateful to all of you who've reached out to say that these conversations are actually really helping you. That was the original idea of them. And so I'm really thrilled to find out that so many of you find them inspiring, somebody said today they give me something to talk to my kids about at dinner. And I said, I hope you ask your kids maybe to join in on this conversation, because it's with someone that I think so many young people admire. And as I said, my son Christopher, who's at the University of Michigan, said, oh my God, you're talking to Kevin Love. Here's Patrick, my Home Together co-host. We're doing these together because we are home together, like so many other millions of families. Kids have come back from college, kids have come back from all different places to move in with their parents. And so we wanted to show that we're actually also living together. And how I wanted to say, I said to Patrick yesterday, how grateful I am to be living with him, to have him here. It's really nice for me, because otherwise you live alone. And I know there's so many people out there that I've heard from who are living alone. And for them, this is also a very difficult time. So I love that this community comes together every day at 2 o'clock West Coast time and 5 o'clock on the East Coast. And many of you also joining from Europe and different parts of the globe. So we picked this time so that people from different countries could also join in. So I hope this time works for all of you. We also tried today to Telegraph, who was also going to be joining us the rest of the week. Coda is coming tomorrow. Bethenny Frankel on Friday. She's going to be talking about her efforts to raise money to get masks for all of the incredible, inspiring healthcare workers that need masks. And also my cousin Joe Kennedy, who's going to join us to talk about what's happening in Washington, what we should know, what the facts are, and that'll be a good time to ask any questions that you want of people who are actually elected leaders in Washington. So those are the people that are going to be joining us. Many of you have sent me other suggestions. And Pat, hello from Zurich. Lisa, hi, how are you? Finland. So this is Toronto. Wow. Queens. Migster 6, Queens. Our hearts are with you in New York, Tampa, Florida. Can you ask about sanitized? Wow, that went fast. Florida.
Santa Monica's, Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
A lot of people in the house. And then also, guys, while we're talking with Kevin, you could press the little
camera higher, it says.
Oh yeah, sure. You can ask questions.
Melbourne, Australia.
There's
Wonderful.
a little question thing in the bottom of your screens if you want to answer or ask questions that we can ask Kevin or answer ourselves. Let me put this.
We can't answer anything ourselves. We have to ask Kevin everything, because he has all the answers.
No, not higher, maybe lower.
I don't know, they said higher, but whatever.
Maybe
okay.
Like that is probably better.
Yeah. I try to kind of say what I know here, but Patrick knows how to run these things better than I do. So when is Midnight Sun 2 coming out, Patrick? I don't know. Hi from England. Is there
from Washington, Connecticut,
the Philippines,
Ontario, Maryland,
wow. Cleveland, great. So
South Carolina, a bunch of places. Oh, we already have some questions coming.
Is Kevin the answer man? Yes. How is Kevin doing? Well, Kevin will be able to answer these questions.
Yes.
What meditation apps is he using? Okay, these are good questions.
Yeah, that's a good one. What do you enjoy about spending time in Cleveland? Okay. Thank you for doing this. Everyone needs some extra hope these days, of course. So let's see if Kevin is coming on. Cincinnati, Ohio, Dallas.
So I wanted to just say why I was interested in...
there's Kevin. I have arrived.
Okay, guys, I've arrived. Okay, we don't want to keep him waiting. So, did you let him in?
No, I'm about to.
Okay.
You just said
Well, don't keep him waiting.
I'm not.
He's knocking at the front door. Kevin Love, press the button.
I'm going to.
Yes, Mommy.
It's 23. I probably have to start following Patrick today. I thought he'd get some whiz on. Oh, that's
Hi.
Hey-o.
Hi, Kevin.
Uh-oh. All right, we're going to try to redo that.
Okay.
Let's see.
That was so exciting. Go back to Kevin.
I'm going back to Kevin.
Okay.
Okay, well, wait a second. He's off right now, so he'll probably be coming back with some better Wi-Fi, hopefully.
They have really good Wi-Fi in Cleveland. Yes. So, Zach Posen. Hi, Zach Posen. Big
I think
fan
Dave
of
Asprey
yours.
I just saw on here,
Oh,
too.
Dave Asprey. I love you, Dave. Dave Asprey's been so helpful to us at the Women's Alzheimer's Movement. He's been such a great partner and has so many great ideas. So I want to thank him for all of his incredible work, helping us raise money for funds for the Women's Alzheimer's Movement. So that's been a passion of mine, and I know so many other people. Where is Kevin?
He's coming back.
He's coming back. Kevin's not here. We know that. We're trying to find Kevin. So Kevin, I think, has...
Oh, there he is.
Kevin's back.
He's back.
So now we go... Oh, where did you go now?
I'm going to go up and press go live with. And now we'll just wait to see if Kevin requests. And then we will be in and ready to go.
Anyway, I did a lot of questions from different people about living with their adult children. And so one of the things I have found is to also, when you're living with your adult children, meeting for dinner is good, but letting your adult children have some space from you because they don't...
Kevin, request the live so I can add you.
Okay. Anyway, so I found that having adult children, it's good to have conversations every day about what they need, what kind of support they need, how your relationship is going, what kind of independent time they need away from you, in a different room from you, and that you can maybe meet for dinner, which is really great. And so, do you want me to take this over?
I'm sorry, I need him to request. I'm just waiting for him to request. Let's see if he's on requests. Okay. These are all different people requesting it. There we go, Kevin. Boom, add.
Boom, waiting for Kevin Love. So your brother is going to join us from Ann Arbor where he's quarantined.
Okay, so this is my fault.
Okay, there we go.
I'll tell you, this is my fault. This is my first week of doing anything of the sort, so I apologize.
Okay.
That's on me. That's my bad. It was a pump fake.
You're worth waiting for, Kevin. So that's
appreciate it.
Thank you so much for joining us. And
of course.
Saying to Patrick that his brother, my son Christopher, called from Ann Arbor and said, "Mom, is it true you're actually going to talk to Kevin Love guys here say?" I said, "Yes, it's true." He's like, "Oh, I'm going to actually watch one of those things you do all the time." So thank you for connecting me to everybody in Ann Arbor. So thank you so much for joining us. And Kevin, one of the great things I wanted to start by talking to you about was I think you've been such a leader in the way you stepped up to help those that work in the arena in Cleveland, and you said this is really a moment for athletes to be community leaders. How has that been received for you?
And tell everybody what you did if they're not quite familiar with what you announced last week.
Yeah, so I try to look at things in their entirety, and I just know that there's so much to navigate in such a stressful time like this. I mean, so many of our arena workers are people that we see at least 41 nights out of the year, because we play all of our home games there and we get to learn their names on a first name basis. So these are people that have supported us and myself since I got traded to Cleveland in the 14-15 season. And just being able to consider them, know that a lot of them are living paycheck to paycheck. A lot of them don't know that when they're going to put food on the table or how they're going to put food on the table, when that next paycheck is coming. And then also just, I mentioned navigating this time. It's so stressful, so much anxiety. And I think I've been saying, since this all started, that the unknown is really like the thing that works myself up and has to work, work up everybody, just because every day something new is coming. We don't know what it's going to look like, what the world's going to look like in a month, 2 months, 3 months. So I thought it was important to give back to them. And to answer your question, I donated $100,000 to the workers and everybody that's at the arena. So the arena staff that comes out there on game night. And then the team stepped up, a number of different players stepped up in their various ways, whether they donated to the arena staff, whether they donated to like the Mayo Clinic, like Carl Anthony Towns did, or Steph and Aisha Curry donated $1 million worth of meals to everybody in the Oakland and San Francisco area. So you see basketball players in different avenues and different ways stepping up.
Right. And I think it was really awesome what you did, because it was you were pretty much the first person to do something like that. And I saw President Obama tweet about you, and I mean, that's an awesome, accolade to have. And it kind of started a domino effect for other players to start. For sure. And hopefully continue the conversation with owners to start doing more as well. Yep. With people that are working at the different, facilities and don't have work right now and have a kind of a safety of knowing that someone will be taking care of them. But I noticed that you also did kind of a similar situation when you had re-signed in Cleveland. You took kind of a photo with all the workers behind you. Right. And instead of doing a big kind of press conference or a flashy way of doing it, you did it with kind of the construction workers, the people that were in the stadium. So I think I'm sure that, all the fans and workers in Cleveland are very appreciative. But just as an American, it's really awesome to see you do that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
There's a lot of thank you notes on here to you. Great guy. Thank you for your compassion. There's also some questions here that you've spoken out quite openly in the past about managing your own anxiety, your own mental health, and people saying, how are you managing that? What advice do you have for others in this time? And as a mom of 2 boys and as a sister to 4 brothers, sometimes those of us who are moms can't see it in our boys as perhaps in girls. So what advice do you have in that?
Well, speaking to that point, I think in young men and young boys, like I came from a time, and my dad, he was born in 49. So he was, at that age where, either people in the family served or, Vietnam had just gotten to the point, and getting through the 60s as well with him was a turbulent, tough time where things were changing, some for the better, some for not. So that's a different era where you just used to and we still celebrate it to a point, but I think we're getting better at beating our emotions into submission. I did that for so long, really until I was about 28 years old when I had a major episode in my life. So, in terms of young men and people in this time, even if we want to get back to that, it's normal to feel this way. Yeah. It's normal to feel the anxiety. It's normal to feel the stress, as I mentioned. It's normal to feel depressed and, get really worked up. But for what I do here is I've am inspired to do more for people. I think that makes me feel really good. And what I've learned through this whole thing is that sense of community. Doing this, as you can see, I'm not that good at getting signed on, but I appreciate the help, Patrick. And just doing slow breathing exercises. I know when I first came on, you talked about the meditation app that I use. Actually, with my fund, we've used Headspace, which is right there in Santa Monica, and that's been very helpful for me. And they, have anything from a minute to 2 minutes, just take 6 deep breaths to 30, 40 minute, just checking in with yourself and seeing how much meditation that you need, working out, making sure that I'm doing all that I can to, stay healthy, make sure I'm taking care of my core competencies, which one of the main ones is my job, and that's staying in shape, eating healthy, taking the dog out on the walk, getting outside, getting some sun. I'm here talking to you guys today. We actually have a lot of sun today. It feels good. So No, I know that's a little bit all over the place, but just doing everything right for my body, doing everything right for my mind, and hopefully the two complement each other.
Right. I think that kind of what you were just saying of, you're kind of back at home. One of the things that you're going through, which a lot of different Americans are going through, is they're not able to do kind of what they love right now. And your passion, obviously, one of them being, basketball, and you have many others, but that's something that you practice each and every day, that you guys have spent, the whole summer and your whole lives to be in the position that you're at today of playing in the NBA, and that's on kind of a pause. And I think a lot of Americans right now are on pause with work and having to work from home, or not having the security of knowing if they will have work tomorrow and everything. So what have you kind of been able to do? I mean, you talked a little bit about it to reduce your anxiety, but, what's something that maybe you could recommend to other people that are, having kind of an at pause moment in their life right now with their work? I'm here working from home on my job, and so is my mom, and we're working next to each other. But, one of the biggest difficulties for myself has been, owning different small businesses is, trying to make sure and assuring our workers that they're going to have, work ahead, and they're going to be, we're going to be there for them, and, use this time right now to find opportunities of how we can shift the business and keep it open. And I know that's a loaded question, but.
No, it's okay. I think more than anything for me right now, it's just continuing to try and find routine. I think by nature, especially as an athlete, I'm losing that is like, losing a major part of my identity. So just finding ways to, get to bed as early as I can, focus on sleep, making sure I'm catching up on sleep that I wouldn't otherwise be able to with a crazy schedule like the NBA has, just crossing over different time zones and really accumulating a lot of airline miles. So definitely that, reading a lot, making sure that, I'm escaping my brain a little bit, all the way to, continuing to dive into, my fun and learn about anxiety and depression and all the intrinsic things when it comes to mental health, as well as talking to people and picking apart their stories. So, it's every day making sure that, like I said, getting my workout in. And then just, I think right now it's also a big thing that I'm doing is trying to find a hobby that I'm going to be able to use moving forward, and one that is pretty mindless as well, because so much of the time, as I said previously, like I'm trying to not get notifications on my phone. I'm staying away from the TV at certain points throughout the day, because I think you do need to separate yourself from that sometimes, because so much of the 24-hour, 7-day-a-week news cycles, they can get to you. There has to be a long-term effect on seeding and feeling those messages and compartmentalizing them over time that can have a negative effect for you. But I would say go ahead.
Well, one thing you said that really struck me, Kevin, is I think that you said you've discovered in this time the feeling of being useful, of stepping up, of finding a different purpose. You've had this purpose your whole life to be the best at what you do on the court, and now you're finding a different purpose. What are you discovering about that? Because so many people, I find, want to be of help, don't really know where to go. How can people join in your purpose, and what are you learning right now that you didn't know before this moment?
There's so much. I think initially, before I pressed send on my my article, where I kind of slowly shared what I had gone through and panic attacks and anxiety and depression since really I can remember as a young kid. So the biggest thing early was kind of what I'm talking about here is community. I didn't realize the vast numbers and how everything is really trending in a direction that is it's kind of like an epidemic that nobody's talking about. Whether it's, where I'm from in Oregon, I grew up right outside of Portland, Oregon, but in Oregon, from ages 10 to 34, suicide is the second leading killer of ages 10 to 34. And then if you take Ohio, there was a 10-year study where suicide's been up 24% in the 10 years, and ages above 60 and below 14, it's up 80%. So you just consider.
Pause a second. Just repeat those numbers because those are huge. Those are lives, right? Those are
yes, those are lives. So it's ages 10 to 34 in Oregon. Suicide is the second leading killer, whereas in Ohio, and Oregon is where I grew up, in Ohio, in the last 10 years, there's a 10-year study, suicide is up 24%, and ages 60 and above and 14 and below, it's up 80%. So those numbers are staggering, and those are places that really hit close to home for me. And I have really learned too that this is a young people problem, which for me is something that hits close to home as well, because I didn't know why I was feeling that way. We mentioned earlier, as a young man, I didn't have a way to, I felt I would be exposed or I'd be called out as a fraud if I said that I had these things going on with me. But by the age of, whether it's anxiety disorders, bipolar, depression, schizophrenia, by the age of 14, 50% of the people know that they have it or experience symptoms. And by 24, it's 75%. So, what a lot of people don't realize is, changes happen in the brain before behavioral changes. Yeah. So there has to be a way to get earlier intervention in there. And that's a lot what we're working at my fund, is trying to find ways to get creative around beating the stigma, educating people around mental health, creating tools, as I mentioned earlier, like getting creative with a headspace, creating great partnerships. Then after that, it would be research. So we have a lot of positive things happening and a lot of resources that we're using that are very, very exciting, but I'm learning a lot. I'm still on this journey. I always start off by saying, hey, listen, I don't know everything, but I can speak from experience, and hopefully I'll continue to learn more.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
I think that's great. And I think that kind of what you said of where you just asked kind of the topic of, using this time right now to realize how much you can, give back and help other people. We just did a talk yesterday with Mel Robbins, who spoke kind of on the same thing. And I think that's great for a lot of the listeners here, or that will continue to watch this after, is that, if you're in a space, financially or physically or mentally, everything like that, to find ways to help people in your communities, whether that's small, small business restaurants, coffee shops, anything.
Totally.
Like that. Please find ways to use this time to realize that you are extremely impactful to other people, and to other people that are struggling currently right now. And, a lot of people don't maybe show it or want to use their voice to tell other people because they feel it's embarrassing or anything like that. But find ways to reach out to a friend, to a neighbor. And do you want to go on to, we have a bunch of questions for you.
Okay.
From people that are watching. One person said, what app are you using? Which I think you just said Headspace helps you a lot.
Yep. Headspace.
Have you ever thought about doing a live guided meditation?
Yes, actually. I am just speaking of navigating this time, I've tried to I'm getting better at turning the camera around like this. Typically I'm filming outward, but I'm getting more and more comfortable at I guess just being myself. That's why, okay. So Patrick, you do such a good job of getting your message. I don't know how many takes it takes for you, but it looks like just so natural. For me, I need to get with you and see how it's done, because I'm typically getting asked the questions, or I'm facing it outward, but the message, positivity and business, all just doing it so naturally with the camera right here is not my genius, So I'm working on it.
I did the video where Abby, my girlfriend, was filming me, and she was getting so frustrated during it. But thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course.
Let's see here.
A lot about questions about what are you scared about right now with this virus and kind of the unknown. How do you manage that?
Yeah, I think the unknown is probably what gets me worked up the most. And I think so long as we all are doing right by, honestly, humanity, or doing right by, just staying inside and making sure that we're social distancing. I've also said, like, social distancing doesn't mean social isolation. So there is ways we can all stay connected. We don't have to just, I guess what I'm trying to say is stay at home. There's so many people like grocery store workers, pharmacy workers, all the people in the medical world, like doctors, nurses, like they're putting in overtime. They have kids too. They have to make a decision between seeing their kids, being with their kids, taking care of their core competencies as well. And they're, putting in huge shifts. I saw yesterday, I'm not going to touch my face, but the people that had the goggles on and they had like the indents and it was rubbing, and like they're putting in crazy hours everywhere to make sure that we're going to be okay. Like the human race, like this is so much bigger than us. But I will say, like, I know I'm finding the positive in this question, but, nothing unites us like a common enemy. And it just is the way it is. Like, we're super resilient. We will find a way out of this, but, or we will get through this. But I do think that, we have to be responsible for our actions and just make sure that we're doing right by everybody, and social distancing, keeping away, whether it's in isolation or just staying at home, honestly.
Right. And I think kind of what this question had talked about and what you just said was, unknown is extremely worrisome and scary. And one of the ways that one of our other talks, someone said that could really help with that is creating predictability, that Americans and people as humans love to know what's predictable, whether that's in the economy with the market or with you're going to have a job tomorrow. And right now with everybody on pause, you have to find ways to hack your mind and show that you do have some sort of predictability. Like you had said, continuing to do routines, continuing to wake up at a certain time to make your bed, to get ready as though you're going to work, and go and take some time and do some work emails or some calls or whatever it is that you can do to add on to the idea of your mind seeing that you're going through routine or through predictability. This next question is from Kathleen McMartin, and she says that she has an 18-year-old and is trying to find ways of how to help him express feelings about happiness or of what's just happening. How to get someone that's 18 or a younger person to express kind of like how you did in these last years.
I think that comes back to the question every mom I know is always saying, particularly with young men, it's like, yep, nope, okay.
Right. Use your words, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, whether it be, young men, men in general, I feel like there's a hurdle we have to overcome to be good communicators. So we're already at a disadvantage. Like women and young women, they take time to actually, we're so far behind. Like you actually take time to share your feelings, for better or for worse, honestly. Like, so much of the time when I was young, I just had and that's why I had such a long fuse when I finally got so worked up with my anxiety, or I was just so depressed. I didn't know why I was feeling this way. I just couldn't get out of it. Like I just would just tear apart my bedroom. Like I'd kick a basketball and walk out of the room or walk out of the gym and use expletives. So like, I didn't know how to like put this or compartment, like put it somewhere else or put all that energy somewhere else. Cause I do feel like, that melancholy sometimes can be a gift. There actually was a great book I read called Lincoln's Melancholy, how throughout his presidency and growing up in Illinois, like how he found ways to get the best out of himself and become this, one of the most revered presidents or human beings in human history. So I thought that was incredibly important. But as young kids, I know I was this way. I wasn't a bully by any means, but sometimes I wanted to feel accepted, or I wanted to be able to sit at the table, if you will. So I would like not make fun, but make a joke on somebody else's expense, not knowing that it not only would hurt them, but it would hurt me. I would walk away saying like, why would I do such a thing? And then I would meet that person one-on-one, and I would just be how I am now, like try to hold myself with integrity and character and be kind. But I think when you're at that age, boys they are super susceptible to change. So that's incredibly powerful and is a glass half full way to look at it. But it's just finding ways to make them communicate has to be a group thing. It has to be that sense of togetherness and being a part of something bigger, honestly, because I didn't have that, or I just didn't have the presence of mind to even think like that. So I know exactly what you mean when you say, you know, one word answers, because I was that guy with my mom. I was that guy with my dad as well. Like, I would just say, you know what, you guys don't know anything. Little did I consider they had 40, 50 years life experience on me. So that's a really, really tough time. So I think we have to consider, you know, different tools, different actions. And I think that's what, you know, I'm trying to learn here as well, because I do want to have those answers and, you know, help educate kids at that age.
Right. That's great.
If I'm too long-winded with these, also just tell me to shut up.
No, it's good. I'm wondering, Kevin, are there ways for people to help you with your fund who might be interested in getting involved with what you're doing, either at the school level or the community level?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, you can go to my Instagram, or you can go to kevinlovefund.com, just to see what we're about. Like, we've worked with Bring Change to Mind. We've worked with the Entertainment Industry Foundation, Just Keep Living. So those were great partnerships and strategic partnerships that we had early on, just so it would be a great intro for us to the world of mental health, and also the world of giving, because this was, you know, for me in this space, this mental health space and physical well-being space was pretty, I mean, relatively new to me. So it was, you know, having these type of conversations and finding out what other people are dealing with. But I'd say just reach out on there, either send an email, drop me a message. And, you know, it's good just because it's not like a one size fits all model. You can't say, okay, these people both suffer from acute anxiety, let's just put them in this box and have them try this. Like, every response and everything people are going through, whether you classify it the same thing, is unique. So I think it's trying to find ways to attack and you know, what helps people in various forms, because it's not all the same.
I don't know if Kevin can see all of these comments. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for your work. Thank you for this conversation. I wish my kids could listen to this conversation. Can he see all these
He can see probably the comments, but not the questions. I think
Kevin is a man full of love.
A lot of Kevin, you have a great smile.
Oh, wow.
But thank you, Kevin Love. Thank you for this vulnerability. I think this is so powerful, because, you know, so often we don't hear men in particular, and particularly successful men, having these kinds of conversations. So I think that opens the door for so many others, men and women, and LGBTQ kids,
Yep.
and everybody who feel different, who feel like they don't know their place, they can't get a hold of their feelings. So I think these kinds of conversations in our homes, at our tables, and in our schools are so important. And so for you to lead the way and say, look, I can play, you know, amongst the best people, I can be at the top of my game, I can still have these feelings, so it's okay for you to have them too. And we're here and we're working to help you. So I think you can go to kevinlovefund.org, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can also get a Headspace app, which Kevin is talking about, that's been helpful to him. There's so many different kinds of apps that are out there now, and some are offering free services so that you can practice meditation. I'm a big proponent of meditation. I've tried to get somebody who's in this house to also practice it. Not been successful.
I find,
Right.
yes, I haven't been able to do the exact meditation that she does, but I have other ways that I feel I have meditation of it, whether that's a walk by myself or a hike or going to the gym even, or whatever it is. My morning routines, I feel
sure.
like they're not obviously exactly what meditation you would think of, but they're my own form.
Mm-hmm.
I agree that at some point I can try your type of meditation.
Or Headspace. That's good. Just
Headspace,
join Kevin and do what he does, not what I do.
Yeah.
So I think your statistics about kids under 14, and also then people my age, I think there's so many parents out there who are terrified right now, who, you know, have families to support, and who are, as you say, living paycheck to paycheck and don't know when that paycheck is coming.
Right.
So kind of knowing that there's your fund that's out there, there are other community groups. What is going on in Cleveland right now that's got you hopeful? Is there an organization that's doing work that you think has got you hopeful?
I would just say we're so fortunate here to have the Cleveland Clinic within 10 to 20 minutes away. So one of, if not the best hospitals in the US or even the world. And I mean, the workforce there has been so great, and they're taking care of as many people as they possibly can. A lot of those photos that I saw, I know I keep doing like this, but we're from the Cleveland Clinic. So I think, them as well as food shelters as well, whether it be, the local food bank, all the way down to the World Health Organization. That's why I say, like, even with NBA players, anybody, like, find your avenue, whatever appeals to you, whatever makes you makes you want to give, or whatever avenue you want to take to help is going to help tremendously. Like, pay it forward, do whatever you can if you're able to. So it could be locally, like I said, with the local food banks. It could be domestic, globally, World Health Organization, CDC. Like I mentioned, there was a player in the league that donated $100,000 to the Mayo Clinic. So there's a lot out there that I'm really digging, even if it's something little, like giving money to GoFundMe for people that are out of jobs. Like, just little acts like that can be anonymous, that honestly make me feel good in a time like this.
Right.
That's so great. I think, there's so many local organizations, and this also reiterates how important it is to invest in medical research.
Big time, yes.
Because we haven't kind of had that conversation in our country. The Women's Alzheimer's movement that I work with, we've been funding research, and there's so many good organizations that are still out there working to fund research into the brain, into understanding more than just the virus being front of mind right now, but
right.
some of the other diseases. So I think it's a moment to really think about all the great work that's being done in all of these organizations to try to better understand how we think, how we feel, how our brains process information, how we all manage in our day-to-day lives.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think that, we don't want to take up too much of your time. And
I have a lot to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think we want to really thank you. I think it's so admirable the way you've stepped up at this moment, and also the work you're doing with the Kevin Love Fund. As we said, you can go find out more about the work that Kevin is doing. Join him in that work, which will be ongoing after this is over, obviously. And if you have a kid who is struggling with depression, with anxiety, what's the single best question, not like how are you doing, but to draw someone out, to say, Kevin Love was talking today about how he used to be that kid, and when someone asked him X, that broke it open. Is there anything like that?
I think it depends on who it comes from, because it was even some of my best friends didn't know. Actually, my best friend didn't even know the severity of it, because he was the kid that would fall on the blacktop and scrape up his knees and be bloody the whole time, and would just keep a straight face. And it'd be like, we don't cry, we don't cry, we don't cry. So for me, what really got me, honestly, I'm so blessed that I'm able to even afford a therapist, but it was really getting with the therapist and letting him in for the first time. After I had an on-court panic attack in a game, I sought therapy for the first time probably 3 days after the fact. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to lay it all out there. I'm going to be an open book. And, whatever he asked me, I'm going to answer with clarity, be transparent, and just be super vulnerable. But it took me 28 years to do that. So, I think you have to get creative in ways to get through to people. And, if I told you I knew the answer for everybody, I'd be lying. But for me, it would just be, now just making sure you're always putting in the time. I think showing up and being there is a part of it, even if they want to sit in silence. But just finding ways to, get through to them in any way possible. Sometimes you have to get creative, but just asking how they are, checking in, and using these devices, using things like this to stay engaged and connected, no matter if they're at home with you, or they're at college, or they're, in later portion of life. Like you have to find ways just to show the FaceTime and do this.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's really important, and finding ways to, if you aren't as fortunate financially to have a therapist or something, is creating that relationship with a friend or another family member, and having an open dialogue about that, and really explaining to that other person in your life or those friends that this is something that you need, and can they listen to you, and a lot of the times a lot of people just want to be kind of heard and listened to, and
yes, 100%,
and kind of vomit out what they've been thinking or everything like that. But I know that we appreciate your time. We appreciate your efforts of helping out other Americans and helping out other people around the world, and continuing to do that. And we enjoy watching you play, and can't wait to see everything else that you do. And if nothing else, I'll see you for some dinner this summer when you're done playing.
That's true. Yeah, and hey, don't
how to do this.
yeah, thank you. Don't put on the Corona 15 either, because I know you like those sweets. So
yeah, I know we're struggling.
well, you gotta lock the freezer.
Corona. Thank you very much, ladies.
Thanks, guys.
Kevin Love. Take care.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, and I say hi.
I will for sure. Tell Abby I said hi.
Bye.
That was really great of Kevin Love. We want to thank him. He was such an inspiring guest.
Yeah, he really was.
Yeah.
He was great.
Yeah, he says, don't leave. But we want to thank everybody. We want to really thank Kevin Love. I thought as a mom, I thought that was really inspiring as a human being, as an American, as a citizen, a global citizen. If we all stepped up like him in our own ways, sometimes it's just knocking on a neighbor's door. I dropped oranges at the neighbors yesterday. There's all little things that we can do. And most importantly, I think, as he was saying, show kindness and show concern for our fellow human beings.
Yep. And sorry if we didn't get to all the questions. There were a lot today, but hopefully we answered a few of your guys's, and Kevin talked about some of the subjects that you guys had, asked about as well. And thank you guys for tuning in. And tomorrow we have
Hoda Kotb, and then Friday we have Bethenny Frankel, who's going to talk about the work she's doing to raise money for MASS, and also Joe Kennedy, who's on
Saturday?
No, Friday. We're doing two back-to-back on Friday. We're going to try that. Several people have asked for that. So we're making this up as we go along. And so we're trying to get different people. Also, people have suggested people. So give us your ideas about who would inspire you, who would give you facts that you need to know, who would make you feel like this was a good use of your time. And hi, Johnny Lowe. Hey, C1.
C1 on here?
C1 is on here. That's our son.
I don't know.
Brother, he was on.
Oh,
here.
yeah.
See,
Killed it,
Ma. Thank you, Christopher.
Thanks, Christopher.
Yes, he's quarantined at school. So we miss him, and we thank all of you for joining us.
All right.
See you.
Over and out.